Sounds gone.
Can you hear her? Okay, yeah, I can't hear you very much. Okay. Ramona says too loud.
My natural voice. Sorry.
Right.
Oh, the noise on the outside. Yeah.
Now, can we see you?
Can you see me? Can you
See
see?
you on the... I don't know.
You stood there last time and it got all.
All right.
I'll scoot up.
Right.
But we can't see.
Are you tired of sitting on the cryptocurrency sidelines, watching others
What was that?
the exciting new asset class and not sure how to get
40.
started?
We'll keep it with the breaks.
Cryptocurrency
It's difficult sometimes.
35 and 42.
The ultra crypto IRA can be opened with as little as $10 today. With a self-directed crypto IRA, you are in control of your investments. Choose from over
I have no notes. Is that a problem?
Bitcoin, Ethereum,
I'm always like,
it's a great way to
I have notes.
all trading is done.
I do have notes.
Well, the problem is this one will go rogue on his topics every once in a while.
Yeah, I don't like to.
This is what we're going to talk about. I just kidding.
Now you can get started in
I don't
cryptocurrency
like
investing with ease with a tax-advantaged Alto Crypto IRA.
Invest in crypto with the tax benefits of an IRA for as little as $10. Just
I'll try to get on
AltoIRA.com/sports. That's AltoIRA.com/sports. Invest in a crypto IRA today. AltoIRA.com/SPORTS.
Just so you know.
Diamonds Direct's
We're live.
incredible 5-year zero
Right.
interest financing is happening now.
Good.
Take it easy.
Spread your payments over
What, did I do anything?
We are live now.
Okay, I was just
Not
counting
yet.
years. That's it.
Yet.
Okay.
Every Simon G ring is made to reflect the unique brilliance of the woman who wears them. See the entire Simon G
Trying to get
collection
logged
this
in.
Friday and Saturday. Take advantage of 5-year zero interest financing on a group at only
Or
at
it's a
Diamonds
tax.
Direct. Pick up store hours and directions at diamondsdirect.com.
Hey, Clemson fans, it's time for the Morgan Thomas Show, live on the Roar. Authentic opinions, detailed game analysis, in-depth recruiting coverage, and more. Now, here's your host, Morgan Thomas.
Oh, yeah, it's Thursday night. And you know what that means. The Morgan Thomas Show is live again on 105.5 and 97.5 The Roar. And we're also here in Clemson again in the Priority One Studios. Thank you, Ramona, for staying an extra hour for us and producing the show. We really appreciate it. We wouldn't be here without you. Again, I'm Morgan Thomas. If you aren't familiar with the show, we have been streaming live on Facebook and YouTube for about 3 years now, and we are now part of the Roar family as well. Late night crew, if that's what we call ourselves. But again, my name is Morgan Thomas. Alongside me is our resident professional engineer. You know, you can't build a dynasty without a civil engineer.
You
Big
need an
Al.
engineer. So when you find one, let me know. But I am here in the meantime, ready to rock and roll. Hey, beautiful weather outside today. I mean, it's getting a little cooler. It's fall weather. It's football weather. It's good to be here in the studios. We are inside, sheltered from the weather today, but that's okay because we're still going to have things going on. A lot of stuff to talk about. A lot of Clemson stuff to get to tonight. Really excited about it.
It is nice weather. It's been pretty bad, I heard, because I was actually in Destin
Yes.
with beautiful weather down there in the Emerald Coast
Right.
for a couple of days. But I left my vacation to come back and be on the Roar.
True commitment.
You know, it really is. It really is. I mean, I took myself from paradise to be here in my own little paradise.
Well, this is paradise.
Yes, yes. Not only do we have Big Al Allen Adams, but we also have a man voted 5-time champion of Powdersville's best beard.
Dude,
Mr. Houston Burnett.
it's Taylor's.
Not
Same.
Powdersville?
No, we've discussed this
same
like
thing, right?
18 times. Yeah, it's
You're-
just a spot on the map. That's what it is. No, it's all good. I represent the greater upstate area. We'll just say greater upstate bearded champion of the world. That's what we'll say.
South Carolina's
Yeah.
champion.
Yeah, great. Yeah, that works. That works. But
Okay.
yeah,
I like it.
super excited to be here. You know, just to keep everybody level headed because you know we've had a wide range of opinions this week. You know, and it's been a roller coaster of a week in Tiger Town. Let's just say that.
That's interesting. Clemson fans don't normally strike me as an opinionated.
Oh,
College
never.
football fans really opinionated. I did not know that they would be that way. How dare they?
Yeah.
How dare they? And how dare I say that you're Powdersville? I'll fix it. I promise. I'll fix it. But again, this is the Morgan Thomas Show. We really appreciate whether you're watching on Facebook or YouTube or you're listening on The Roar. And, like I said, we're YouTubers, we're streamers, and we only got an hour, so let's get into it.
That's right.
The game coming up this weekend is North Carolina State. Clemson's going to travel there. I haven't ever been to Raleigh. Houston, I know, has.
3 times.
I know that they've been talking about piping in the noise. Dabo's ear says they're still ringing. They've been piping in that wolf howling, which I have huskies, so I respect the wolf howling. But Houston, is it the 3 times you've been, pretty intimidating place?
It depends. I think this particular one, I went in 2017 when NC State was thinking they could win the Atlantic Division crown. I think that they'll be thinking the same way. So it's going to be rocking. There are going to be plenty of fans that are going to partake of adult beverages beforehand, and that crowd get pretty rowdy off of that. They were the 2 of the 3 times I went when they weren't good, super nice, super chill, very, very accommodating. But the one time that I went up there and they were looking for a win, not so accommodating. So just know if you're going to Raleigh, it's gonna be a rough go, regardless if the Tigers win or lose. You're gonna have a hard time on Saturday.
That's kind of how it goes. When I was there in the Clemson Alabama game, they were just a bunch of Southern gentlemen when they were winning.
Yeah.
And then when Deshaun started marching down the field and they knew that time was up, they didn't get really very happy with me. They weren't smiling. Yeah, the tide turned. Yes.
I see what you did there.
I did. Now, can the tide turn for Clemson's offense? That's the big story of the week. You see what I did there?
I did.
We're going to keep this rolling.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Let's do it.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. I'm going to stop. I am a dad. We are dads here, so we got a bunch of dad jokes. All right. So can Clemson solve their offensive woes, their struggles, their challenges, their faults, whatever they may be? Only 22 points per game right now with a team that over the last decade has been used to scoring 30 to 40 points per game on average. So the offense definitely has some things to work on, primarily getting points on the board. It seems like, man, how much of a 180 have we done as a fan base this year? This season has really put us in check, at least me in check. I started out in July saying, keep DJ in there because I want to see him win the Heisman. I want to see him rack up as many yards as possible. And now the fan base, not me, but the fan base is saying a win is a win. Who cares if we only score 1 touchdown? A win is a win. We've got to squeak by any means necessary. Is that odd just how much we have gone from just wanting to basically run the table, blow everyone out, win the Heisman, win the championship, to now let's get through with a win?
I think that's the goal anyways. I don't really care how we win the game as long as we're winning the game. It's just winning a different way right now, and that's okay. As long as we continue to do that. I think that's the issue here at hand is people are wondering, can we continue to do that? Can we continue to only give up 3 points or 8 points or whatever it may be? I think that's the struggle for Clemson fans right now is we're going to run into some team that gives our defense trouble, just like happens every year, especially with the Pitt game and the famous shovel pass. And it's going to happen. Are we ready for it? Are we going to be able to put enough points on the board to combat that? I think is kind of the issue we're facing right now.
For this, I would say expectations going forward of, look, it's been a struggle against the 2 FBS opponents Clemson's faced, but you look at it, Clemson's had multiple opportunities in each to finish drives and just had turnovers or things like that. Whereas, you look at this, Clemson could easily be 3-0 and have won a game against Georgia Tech, somewhere in the range of 28-8, 20-8, something like that. And although the offense wouldn't look perfect in either of those, imagine the outlook of the entire world right now if Clemson's 3-0 with 2 ugly wins, but comfortable wins in that regard. I think going forward, improvement doesn't have to be 45 points a game or 50 points a game. If you can score 24 to 30 points a game going forward, you're going to be just fine.
I think that it's interesting to know. We talked about has this ever happened before? a team with a poor offense, we'll say a struggling offense.
Yeah.
Okay, I won't say poor because that indicates a grade. But I will say that when we look back, when I say me and Houston, we look back and I said, has there ever been a team that has an amazing defense, but an average offense and still won the national championship? Because that's what you hear from a lot of people. It's like, oh, well, they'll be all right. Doesn't matter. The defense is playing awesome. They'll be all right. Actually, if you go back 20 years, you really got to go back 20 years because most of the time, the team that has won the national championship has a top 25 offense and also a top 25 defense. Fact. So that is a hard fact there. But there is one time where a non-top 25 team on the offensive side thing, I'm talking total offense, so basically yards per game, did not finish in the top 25. The offense did not finish in the top 25, but the defense was one of the best, if not the best, that year. And that was 2002 with Ohio State. Maurice Claret.
Mm-hmm.
They had a no-name at quarterback. I don't even remember. Krenzel. Okay, yeah. They literally struggled to get any kind of passing at all. But they knew their identity. Their identity was running the ball with Claret.
Yeah, and I don't mean to cut you off there. I mean, the difference between that offense and this offense with Clemson is, one, you had some senior guys. Maurice Claret was a freshman. Yeah, you're going to rely on that guy. But those Ohio State teams early on in the Jim Tressel era really didn't care about offense. Their whole goal was if we win, we win. We'll beat you 14-9. We'll beat you 34-0. We'll beat you 34-30. But we really don't put as much of an emphasis on offense because we know we're going to hand it off 40 times a game and just go with it. Whereas Clemson, you have all these explosive players and you're just waiting for something, an identity to click. And I think, and I don't want to dive into this too much, but I think going off of what Walt says, I think in the second half, more in the fourth quarter, you started to build that with the quarterback run game. You're going to see a more run-centric offense just to go ahead and get this team cohesive.
I like that you say click because, again, it's not something that where they have to just assume that they are a below-average team on offense and that they are going to be a great defense, and this is just the way it's going to be. There needs to be incremental improvement because the team, as we've seen, that has been built has that potential. It's not like they don't have that potential. They have some no-name at quarterback, some no-names out there at wide receiver and a really great freshman running back. This team does have a really great freshman running back, by the way, but also has some really, really great weapons. So, Alan, would you agree it's all about clicking?
Yeah, I think that's a big part of the deal. We talked about, several times that DJ does not necessarily look like he has chemistry with these wide receivers. They're not on the same page, running different routes. He's thinking they're going to be somewhere else, and that's kind of been a problem so far, which is one of the main reasons I think the offense has not clicked this year. I mean, look, there's a lot of blame, so to speak, go around, whether it be DJ and his fundamentals or whether it be the offensive line, whether it be the receivers not blocking. That's all kind of, stirred together to make this offense what it has been so far. There's some good film out there, about the offensive line and how they've struggled so far. We know there's talent there, whether it be on the line or whether it be a receiver. I mean, we recruit nothing but 4 and 5 stars pretty much at wide receiver. And you talked about Shipley, running back, that's another 5-star. I mean, the talent is there for sure. And the offensive line simply is going to have to just get their communication together. I think Dabo Swinney mentioned that in one of his conferences about how they need to communicate better with each other, because a lot of times people are simply coming unblocked. And that's been the case way too often so far this year. So they're going to have to do something to kind of get that settled.
Ben Milstead's really going to need to give a 3-hour show if we're going to talk about the offensive line. I was hoping you would ignore them altogether, but we only have an hour, Al. I was looking at the offensive line, and you look at Jordan McFadden recruiting rank 86, Bockhorst 90, Hunter Rayburn 88, Will Putnam 95, Walker Parks 97. They got a lot of guys that were high 4-star guys, not a ton of 5-star guys, but they got guys that evaluated well out of high school, and they need to mature and get into that role. I'm looking at other teams, and I'm seeing success with less talent, and that gets me a little bit frustrated. I look at Michigan State, less talent on the offensive line, and it frustrates me to see Kenneth Walker just destroying it. Number 1 running back in the nation right now, I believe, as far as total yards. Houston, do you agree it really needs to be a growth and hopefully sooner rather than later.
Well, yeah, but I think that's an unfair comparison between Michigan State. I don't know the mix of what their offensive line is, junior, senior wise. You're looking at Clemson's offense, and no matter how you slice it, even though they're not playing particularly well, you have a lot of inexperience on the line. Whether you're talking about Parks, Tate, Rayburn, I believe is a redshirt sophomore, freshman. He's either way. He's a young guy. And your two most experienced guys, you moved one over to left tackle, who is not a left tackle, and you moved a guy who was left guard over to center. So you're having to build cohesion with the young line. So when you talk about it in that sense, and then you talk about the other parts of the offense that are just brand spanking new, it does make sense that there's a growing pain to this. It does make sense that there's a lot of issues. So, like I said, is it something that I'm expecting now that I've seen this offense that I'm expecting next week to go into NC State and to play Boston College and to score 45 points? No. Are they capable of doing that? Yes. Maybe by the end of the season, that's something that we're talking about. But as long as Clemson can incrementally get better and score within that 24 to 30-point range, that's all I'm asking for. That's all I think you can ask for. Right?
Yeah, you're talking about classes. I'm looking at a ton of them. I mean, a ton of redshirt sophomores, redshirt juniors, freshmen out there. So this team is definitely going to be, or is young compared to, say, like the Tar Heels. I watched the North Carolina versus Virginia game, and I'm like, man, these two teams can put up some points. They can block. They're looking better. And I'm like, okay, well, where are they compared to Clemson? Well, they have 85, 87, 85, 84, 84. This is 24/7 composite, right? So in these 80s are your high 3 stars, and in these in the 90s are your 4 stars. So they got basically 1 or 2 4 stars, and everybody else is a high 3 star. A lot of them are 6'4", and all of them are over 305 pounds almost. And so big dudes. But to your point, not a ton of sophomores. Junior, senior, graduate. So Clemson is having to, like you said, learn to develop these younger guys, and you can't really rush it because it takes time, especially with the offensive line as intricate as they do. But again, this is the Morgan Thomas Show on 105.5 and 97.5 The Roar. Don't forget to follow us over on Facebook and YouTube as well. We'll be back after the break.
Nothing
That was good.
better
I
with
like that.
movie
I like
and
that
your
lead.
family
I
than
did because I was trying to go with that. I just noticed that the NC State or UC didn't have anything. Hey Ramona, how do we get the air conditioning on? Because it's kind of hot. Yeah.
What's the password in here? Do we know?
Do you know the Wi-Fi password?
Are you tired of sitting on the cryptocurrency sidelines, watching others trade in the exciting new started? Well, now
I can put my hotspot on.
With the tax-advantaged Alto Crypto IRA.
Let's see.
The Alto Crypto IRA can be opened
put some
as little
banner.
as $10 today. With self-directed crypto IRA, you are in control.
Here we
of your
go.
investments.
We have about 26 people watching over on Facebook and YouTube. Appreciate you guys getting in. I'm looking at it over here on the line. And all right, so Bible Belt Beauties gets in. Randall Ballard, John Sarian, Mel Graves.
With a tax-advantaged Alto Crypto IRA.
Invest in crypto with the tax benefits of an
no,
IRA
she's
for
talking
as
about
little as $10. Just go to altoira.com/sports. That's ALTOIRA.com/sports. Invest in a crypto IRA today. AltoIRA.com/SPORTS.
All right, so let's go through some. Bible Belt says, "What's up?" AJ Jackson, "What's up, y'all?" Caroline says, "Hey, Alan Adams. Hey, Houston. Hey, Morgan." Thomas says, "Let's go." Alcoon says, "Let's go." Kevron, "Go Tigers." Nick, 60% of the time, Houston's beard wins every time. Alcoon, "They have a cute little stadium." Billy Sigmund says, "Raleigh and Columbia has a lot in common." Nick Cullen, "Raleigh is definitely the armpit of the South." Another armpit of the South. The other arm.
Raleigh, the city's actually a pretty solid town. I'm not to disagree with everybody, but I had a pretty good time there. It's a fun town.
Kevron, "Our offensive line needs attention." Cynthia, "Don't like winning like this. Not fun." All winning is fun. You remember we discussed this before. about should you get blown out or not. I don't, and I actually complained about blowouts back in the day.
Yeah, unbelievable.
How dare I? I'm going to bring that up, Cynthia, when we come back from break. But we like I said, Houston, we're not going to get nothing tonight. We're literally talking about Clemson. That's it.
Yeah.
There's nothing. No picks against the spread. No nothing.
Oh,
tonight.
I could probably squeeze some picks in the season, you know.
No, I don't think it's happening. Do you remember who the host is?
Yeah. All right, so Edward Shumpert, does the offense click this weekend? Clemson needs to switch quarterbacks back and forth.
No. Disagree.
We could have beat Georgia easy if ... Clemson needs to give a backup quarterback. Could easily be 1-2. Clemson needs to significantly be better on offense Saturday. Clemson needs to beat the opposition. Our defense will get hurt and injuries with these 3 and out all the time. Something we talked about. Yeah, we can talk about that. If we can't score, we don't need to worry about the natty. Well, yeah, that's true.
It's 24 to 30 points a game.
Yeah.
Can
you put it in the text, the little chat thing? I look at in the little chat thing. Can you put it in there? Can you put it in the chat thing?
Yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah.
All right. This is one of those years where we're watching for the next quarterback to come in.
Not all of us.
Not all of us.
You're listening to 105.5 and 97.5 The Roar, where every day is game day.
All right, listeners, we are back in the studio here. This is Morgan Thomas Show with Big Al and Houston by my side. We are streaming live on Facebook and YouTube. If you are watching now and joining us over there in the interwebs, or if you're listening to us on 105.5 or 97.5 The Roar, thank you for being a part of the show. We really appreciate it. We are, again, talking all things Clemson because literally that's all we care about here. But we were talking about the offensive line. We're talking about the offensive struggles. People are getting in on the chat. And Cynthia gets in over on Facebook, says, I don't like winning like this. Not fun. I can understand that. Now, I will go ahead and admit this publicly. What was it? 2 years ago, Al, I said, I don't like winning like this. And I wasn't talking about winning by a touchdown.
Right.
I was talking about leaving after the third quarter because, the fifth string walk-on was on the field and Clemson was winning by 50 every game. So I was bored in that sense. Can fans ever be satisfied?
No, absolutely. That's not make fun of you for that then. I will make fun of you for that now. And some of us don't leave in the third quarter, whether we're up by 50 or not. So that's kind of my rule. Until the clock's hit all zeros, I'm not going anywhere. I stuck it out in the lightning delay for Georgia Tech, and man, it was a good finish. It was a wild finish. It wasn't exactly the game everybody wanted to see, and it wasn't pretty offensively at times, but it was a good game, an exciting game all the way down to the finish, and the Tigers made it a lot more exciting than they should have.
You allowed yourself to leave the stadium because of a delay, or did you sit in the seat and wait and tempt fate?
So I took off after the second announcement came that it was delayed until, I don't know, it was like another hour. And so I took off and went outside to a buddy of mine's tailgate and hung out with them for a little while and actually went back into the stadium with them to catch the second half.
It was a very weird game, especially being in it right at the halftime.
Yeah.
You had to play 32 seconds. I mean, then you had to. Then thankfully they didn't go down.
Yes.
But not thankfully for some of the band members. I mean, would have been nice. Houston. Again, we're talking about the Clemson offense. Do you think winning like this is not fun?
I mean, I can't. I mean, look, that's not. I don't think that's fair. I think. Yeah, winning 60-0 is great. I don't mind leaving. I think it's great when 60-0 on a nobody. I know the game's in hand. I got to drive back to Greenville. Walking out in this weather, and seeing a sunset in Clemson is pretty spectacular. So that's a good part. I'll stay with the team that we're playing, like Florida State or Georgia Tech or whoever. If we're blowing them out, I'm going to stay and watch it to the end. But I like it when it's a blowout. I like it when we win. What I don't like is just the negative aura of, like, not just fans being like, our offense stinks. Sure, I'll grant you that right now. But the people that are buying into, like, all right, guys, just hang it up. We're going 7-5 year in and year out. We're going 6-6. It's Tommy West reincarnate. It's Tommy Bowden years all over again.
Wow.
Just as bad as things seem, you wouldn't think that Clemson has 2 wins and was in a 7-point, a 1-possession game with Georgia. You would not think that with a fan base. And I know that I've seen on Twitter, people don't like being told to relax, but that's the fans. If you want to live your life that way, that's fine. I'm living my life in reality here, so,
well,
you know.
I will say I don't like being told to relax, only because I would rather have the debate, because that's kind of what we're doing, is having the debate. There's no debate at all, then there's no radio show at all, and then it's kind of boring. But I will say this. There are some improvements there. You could see some glimpses, but back to what Dan Orlovsky said during the game is that it's just not consistent for an entire drive. You see them string together an entire drive all the way down, and then they don't get anything for it, or they go for it on 4th down with a shuffle pass and don't get it through, and then they miss a field goal or something. Something bad happens, right? And so, but Dabo said that DJ has had his best game of the year so far against Georgia Tech. 72% completion rate, 18 of 25. He also had 5.8 yards per carry, but no touchdowns, and only has 1 touchdown through 3 games, which I think is the big concern there is the scoring. You know, can Clemson get that and continue there? But do you believe that was his best game? I mean, I understand where he's coming from as a coach. He's still got to develop the players. He can't say, well, he still had another terrible game, or, you know, basically nitpick all the bad things.
I think, I think from a percentage-wise, 18 of 25 looks good on a stat sheet. I also think that him being able to lead drives, they were 9 of 15 on 3rd down, and
which was out last week.
Yeah, very key situations. Very key situations. Heck, I don't think there were games last year where Trevor fared as well. Even in games where Clemson had well in hand, we didn't face many 3rd downs. Clemson didn't face many 3rd downs. So seeing early adversity in that sense, and then seeing the offense build as the game went on, like I said, there are 2 possessions that keep this game from being a 20-point game. And the whole outlook of the fan base is different right now if the score's 24-8, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, it's little things you see here and there. Even on the Georgia game, we talked about this. Little things can improve and even put points on the board. I mean, there were 2, I felt like, for sure touchdowns that were just overthrown balls. Mm-hmm. And it goes back to touch and just getting that touch and feel. Now, we as fans want it to happen like yesterday, but not now. But not yet, not in a couple of days, not in a couple of weeks. Going into this NC State game, are you concerned with the lack of consistency, knowing that this is going to be an away game and with a team that doesn't really, and a coach that doesn't seem to really like Clemson?
Well, I think you have to be concerned at the very least. We've had these kind of issues before where we didn't score a lot against Troy. We had a close game against Troy, back in the day, lost the game to Pitt, still won the national championship, and a lot of people are going to point to things like that where we've struggled at times when we've gotten it together. And that's true. The problem this year in particular, I think what's got fans so upset is they've had 3 games in a row now where the offense really hasn't looked good. Even when we, scored 49 against South Carolina State, I don't think there were a lot of people that were overly impressed with that offensive outing simply because of the name South Carolina State. And that's fair. DJ has not looked like everybody wants him to look. But I'll tell you this, in the second half against Georgia Tech, when he started running the ball, which is something we mentioned on the show last week, we needed to get him involved in that aspect, and he did that in a good way. I think you said he averaged 5.8 yards a carry or something to that effect. He was showing some fire. He was getting up. He was getting excited. That's the kind of passion we need to see out of him. It'll kind of loosen him up a little bit, get him ready. I like the intensity. Saw it from Justin Ross as well. So I think there are pieces for this offense to get put together so that we can get this thing rolling on a higher level. But, yeah, we're having to take a lot of dump down stuff. right now because the defenses don't want anything behind them. So that's why we're having to see these long, methodical drives with a lot of third downs, and that's fine. But you've got to be able to convert it into points at the end, and that's what Clemson's struggling with right now.
That was one thing that was mentioned as well. You have to take what the defense gives you. They were dropping 8, and so that produced a lot of, shorter pass plays. For me, I still would like to see the deep ball every once in a while. Test it.
Yeah. So you can try to test. You can try to do that. I say you gotta be leery of testing the deep ball so much when you're dropping 8. I think what the approach now that Clemson has seen this so many times is go into a game, try to hit Shipley, run the ball, short passes off to. A lot of success came when they were dropping 8, bringing 3 or 4, whatever, and a little dump pass out to Kobe Pace would get 20 yards. A dump pass out to Shipley. Be able to utilize the running backs out of the backfield, short yardage. That way, if everybody's out covering these wide receivers, you're going to have 20 yards open down the field to get to your running backs, or utilize the tight end. I think towards the end of the game, you saw it get utilized a little bit more by Davis Allen, who is now a starter this week. It got DJ into the groove, especially in that final drive where Clemson scored and got up 14-3. So it's not flashy. You're not going to test it, but the goal of this should be dump off, get them to draw up. They're not dropping 8, and that's when you go over the top. They haven't been able to do that yet.
One caller for Walt Show said that he'd like to see the very first play just go freaking deep down the field and really show them, hey, we are going to do this. Because they really kind of didn't do that. It's so weird. It's like it early on in the first game of the season, abandoned the run. Seemed like last game abandoned any chance of a deep ball. And I don't really understand, in that sense. I'm not a football mind as far as why you're doing certain things or whatever. But my mentality is, with a team as talented as you have, I want to see, hey, try and stop me mentality. That's what I tweeted about on Monday is try and stop me. Not let's just see what defense gives us, which you pretty much need to do most of the time. But there needs to be a couple of those, hey, try and stop me plays. Because I'm watching the Tar Heels, and I'm like, whoa, boy, these Tar Heels, they started out bad. But against Virginia, hey, Sam Howell looks good, running the ball with confidence, taking on defenders. They got Downs, who's going deep. They got running back, Chandler, I think his last name, doing great on off tackle. So their offense is starting to click. I'm ready to see Clemson's start to click too.
Yeah, well, heck, Clemson's Clemson for a reason, and at some point they need to say, hey, we're Clemson, we're going to go take it. This is what we want to do, and you can stop it if you can stop it. I would love to see some deep shots on the outside. There were a couple of opportunities, particularly late in the Georgia Tech game, where I noticed that the safeties had crept all the way up in the box, and there were one-on-one coverage, whether it was a Joe or whether it was Ngata on the outside. And these are 6'5" guys, with athleticism. I'm thinking it doesn't even matter if the corner is all over them. Throw it up in the air, see if they can go make a play. You hear all the time about these circus catches they make in practice. Give them a chance to do that in a game, gain some confidence, and maybe it benefits Clemson going the rest of the year. I'm all for the deep shots.
Yeah, and it's not, it's not like something that's super complex that they need to do or they can do or adjustments. A lot of the adjustments that fans are saying out there are adjustments that coaches definitely know. And if you're a fan who, and I would encourage you to be a fan who not just tweets. I'd encourage you to be a fan who listens to the press conferences, listens to the Tiger Calls on Monday, calls into the Tiger Calls on Monday. I would encourage you to be a fan who listens to the post-game practice notes and videos from Clemson Sports and, from the websites that are out there. I would encourage you to do those things because when you start to listen to the coaches, you realize they're not clueless. They've known. Tony Elliott came out and said, hey, we've known that the footwork's not there. We've known that the touch sometimes is not there. Mm-hmm. But we also know some of these, like you said, amazing passes that are out there. We also know some of these amazing reads and some of these amazing catches. It's just trying to get it put together. It's not, and Dabo mentioned this, too talented. He's too talented. to not find a rhythm. He's too talented to not put it together. But it's not only him, though. It's everyone together, too. You got the offensive line, as we mentioned, the wide receivers. They got to all get together. And like I mentioned, last week, they need to go have a trip to Waffle House. A couple of trips, maybe, and enjoy each other and get it all worked out. I am concerned. You're always concerned with a road game. You're always concerned with a conference road game, too, especially against the NC State Wolfpack. But one thing that we haven't talked about is that Clemson will have a laptop, right? So there is always that advantage. Clemson will have a laptop, so we don't really need. Clemson doesn't really need to do anything other than to have a laptop. Isn't that how Dorn thinks that things go? Right. But let me ask you this. This is real quick. We're about to go on our second break. Again, this is the Morgan Thomas Show on 105.5 and 97.5 The Roar. But real quick, Shipley is going to get his first start. And then also Davis Allen, as Houston mentioned. Al, do you like that? I mean, we know that Clemson lost a player on offense, Jay Dixon. But they do have some other running backs there. They are swapping out Galloway for Allen. Those good things in your eyes?
Oh, absolutely. I don't see how you think anything else as far as the running back position is concerned. Shipley has proven to be the guy there, the most dynamic guy. He reads the tackles better as well. He can find the holes. That's kind of what you're looking for. And I mean, he's making runs that should get nothing into 5-yard gains at times, and he's doing a great job of that. So Shipley is definitely a good move in the right direction there. And Davis Allen, I would agree with as well. He's the best combination of blocker, pass catcher that they have on the team right now for sure. I mean, Galloway has had a couple of opportunities to make a couple big third down plays. He has not done it. He's dropped a couple of passes that he shouldn't have. He has some issues blocking at times. It's kind of been a thing with him since he got here. And Allen, like I said, is the best combination of the two. So I think you got to go to those two players right now.
You can't have a key third down, DJ throw the ball too high, and then on the next series, a key third down, DJ hits you in the arm, in the hands, and you drop it. Because that also hurts his confidence as well. Now, it is one thing when he throws it over your head. That's not your fault, right? But when it hits you in the hands, then that gets kind of like, okay, when you're not helping our young quarterback with the confidence. And, by the way, you've been here. You've been here for quite some time and know. But, again, we're talking all things Clemson football over on Facebook, YouTube, and 105.5, 97.5 The Roar. This is the Morgan Thomas Show. We'll be back after break. Man, I got hot. I got super hot there.
I need to sniffle there so bad. Oh.
I need to go get my drink in the bar.
It's all right. Stream Morgan.
Yeah.
Hey, this is the Houston and Allen takeover moment.
Yeah, what Morgan doesn't know is we're about to lock the door.
We're about to do the real show, everyone. Nothing but talking West Coast football. Just kidding.
Yikes. I'll call her that tonight.
No, I know. Where's the callers? Keith Regan, if you're out there watching, call in, man. Haven't talked to you in a while, Beef. We gotta talk.
He did come back.
I'm back, baby.
What'd you get from Starbucks?
I know.
Just the fact that you went to Starbucks.
By the way, if you're watching over on Facebook and YouTube, check out these bad boys. Check them out. Ramon.
The legs or the shoes?
Not the legs, the shoes. The shoes. Check them out, baby. These are the new Nikes. A little bit too expensive for me, but I had to buy them.
Nike, please sponsor us.
And they're from the Tiger Sports Shop, so go check out the Tiger Sports Shop. We don't just dress for success, we TS for success.
Way to hit that.
These shoes are from the Tiger Sports Shop.
Flawless victory.
And don't forget, we have contests running starting tomorrow. I'm going to post them up. We're going to have contests running with Charleston Sports Pub, Mellow Mushroom, and with Lana Smith, our real estate agent friend. We're going to have some contests running, and you can win some gift cards. We've already had a few winners. You're not going to get a gift card. Not only get a gift card, $25, but you're also going to get a sticker from the show and a T-shirt from the show. So, a lot of swag.
Visit Tiger Town Graphics in downtown Clemson. The Clemson Tigers are you. This Saturday, the Clemson Tigers head to the state of North Carolina to take on the NC State Wolfpack. The Textile Bowl is a story rivalry, and after taking last year off, both are looking forward forward to resuming the series. Each broadcast begins 3 hours before kickoff with the Tigers' big show. Catch it all right
look.
on the Clemson Athletic Properties Network. Catch all the action
I mean, it's just gonna have to do something about that. But anyways, now we got a minute throw in heating and cooling services. I don't know if you know, but heating and cooling services with Mark and Jason Trammell.
Absolutely. I got it right here, brother. 10 seconds?
No, that's 10 seconds for that one. Steps on us.
Okay. So we're going to tell you about one of our sponsors, Heating Cooling Services, Inc. They are family-owned and operated, serving Anderson County and surrounding areas since 1980. Heating Cooling Services, Inc. is your residential and commercial comfort expert. Anything from preventative maintenance of your home HVAC system to overhauling a commercial chiller or anything in between. If you want to breathe easier and be nice and cool in your home or business this summer, or warm and cozy in your home or business this winter, give Heating Cooling Services, Inc. a call. Their number is 864-224-7655. Again, that number is 864-224-7655. You're going to want to talk to Mark Jason Trammell. They will take good care of you. Tell them the Morgan Thomas Show sent you.
Believes in soon changing, and now is the perfect time to change your current car into an exciting new Mazda. Mazda, the in-all car safety and luxury that was also named the most reliable. Bradshaw Mazda is the one-stop destination. Our inventory is back over 50
59.45.
daily. Bradshaw Mazda has 0% available on new Mazda. We offer no hassle buying experience that our customers earn. Bradshaw Mazda, where our cars are just easy to buy. See our specials at Bradshaw Mazda.
Stroke your legs when you're within 15
Let's
seconds.
take the station for Clemson football game day coverage. We are 105.5 and 97.5 The Roar, where every day is game day.
Segment number three of the Morgan Thomas Show on 105.5, 97.5 The Roar, and also streaming over on Facebook and YouTube, at the Morgan Thomas Show, because we're YouTube at heart. But last 15 minutes, we're continuing to talk about the Clemson football Tigers. I guess I could say that, if you're a New York Giants fan, maybe. But we're going to continue to talk about the Tigers, talk about the game against NC State. Normally we do a lot of other things, but this game is I think, extremely important, if not just as important or more important than the first game, because this is a conference game. This is against a team who, could go for the conference win or the division. Right? So this is a team that's going to be, one that Clemson can't look past by any means, and it's the first, I would say, hostile environment away game, not 50-50.
Sure. Yeah, I don't think Clemson can afford to look past anybody right now, as a matter of fact, the way we're playing. I mean, we've already used the mulligan. The mulligan is up. In the ACC and how it gets blasted in the national perception and the national media, we've already lost our one game. If we have any hopes or aspirations of the postseason, got to keep it going here with a win.
Yeah, and there's a lot of things that they can do. We all talked about working up to the NC State game. I was hoping that it'd be worked a little bit more up than where it is now. But you had your SC State, you had your Georgia Tech, now you have your NC State away game, and Walt, their spread is -10, which I say don't look at that if you're a player. Don't look at that. You're a 10-point favorite. I believe that's kind of field goal. I believe. But Walt's saying he's not sure about it. It could easily go either way. You have two guys that can really run the ball. We talked about them earlier, Bam Knight and Pearson, both guys that can run the ball really well. Now, they didn't do well against Mississippi State, but Mississippi State's one of the better run defenses in the nation right now. So it kind of was strength against strength there, which I usually feel like the defense wins out in that case, which is why I think that the defense will do good in this case, because they can, I believe, hold that running game in check, the Clemson defense, I mean.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm thinking that, to me, if anything, this feels like another grind-out game. Houston, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, anytime NC State is a good team, it is a grinded-out kind of game. talking about 2016 and 17. Both of them grinded out in different ways. 2016 was full of mistakes. 2017, NC State was actually a really good team that Clemson had to grind it out with an offense that had a lot of questions at the time. I mean, KB was running it. It was a team that was having to build a different identity post-Deshaun. Similar but different this year. NC State is always going to play hard, but at the same time, you look at NC State's offense, they have two good running backs, but they struggle to run 34 yards at Mississippi State. Look, we can say Mississippi State is a better run defense, but they are not even close. Not even the same stratosphere as Clemson's run defense. And then when you look at also the dropbacks of Devin Leary, what he has to do when he's against pressure versus what he does against pressure, two totally different guys. He's not going to be able to scramble as well, at least in my opinion, as well as Jordan Yates did, or even JT Daniels, even though Daniels didn't scramble that much. I think you get pressure on him, you take away that run game, make them more one-dimensional. They don't want to do that. They want to be balanced. To get them in balance, it helps Clemson out. And like I said, I'm going to keep echoing this. If you can get within that 24 to 30-point range, or even in this case on the road, 21 to 28, something in that way, you're going to be in good shape.
Al gets in over on the chat and says strange things tend to happen in Raleigh. You know, strange things happen in any away game, I feel like. That's why it's always testy there, dicey for me. John gets in and says he'd really like to see more of a Renfro type at slot. I heard some of this as well from Twitterverse saying that they don't really like the Justin Ross experiment. I know that I have mentioned before, Houston said give it some more time. A lot of fans out there saying we'd rather see Justin Ross taking it deep. Maybe be that one that was on that deep end. Al?
Look, I'm not opposed to Ross in the slot. I think he's done a decent job there so far this year. He's still learning the position. I still think, again, we mentioned this earlier when we were talking about before the show. I think he's still a little timid from the injury. I think that's what caused some of the more soft routes, so to speak. I mean, it led to the pick six in the Georgia game we talked about. He just didn't finish that route, and Dabo even said he went the wrong way on that as well. So I think he's got to gain a little more confidence. He's got to gain more confidence, and he had a third down drop in the Georgia Tech game as well. But he also showed some fire later on. DJ threw one kind of low. He went down and grabbed it before it hit the turf. And that was a big confidence booster. He got up. He was excited, showing the passion, and that's something you want to see. So I don't think it's necessarily a failed experiment there. I still think he can succeed at that position. But I think fans are really wanting to see Will Taylor get a shot at the slot because we're more used to that type of guy in the slot, the quick twitch guy who's an athlete who can get open and run good routes. And I think that Ross, is kind of more endeared to our fan base as far as making those big plays on the outside like he did against Bama in the national championship game.
I don't think. I mean, obviously they can do that. Will Taylor. I know that some people have said that too. Houston, do you agree with that? I like him. He is that guy. But again, can you afford to take him away from the quarterback position right now or not? No, I don't know.
I mean, look, I'm not going to say I agree with Alan in this regard that I don't think it's a failed experiment.
Well, you can't say you agree with Alan. That would be reverse.
Well, let's reverse.
Normally,
Uno
says,
card
I
right
agree
here.
with Houston.
I'm dropping the Uno card. I agree with Alan. I think it's not a failed experiment just quite yet. Like, he needs confidence. He's just coming off of injury. Like I said, everyone was injured in that wide receiving core. Everything's new with this offense. Everything's new. But where I agree, I tend to agree where I think you need to find a way to get Will Taylor on the field. Slot is a good spot to do it, especially if you can shift out one of your big, frisbee catching dogs, as what Mark Packer would say on the radio. One of those guys that can go get it on the boundary that stretches the field. Then you've got somebody like Will Taylor who's quick trip twitch. He can get in there. He can do multiple things. Look, you can put him at Wildcat. We have not had, as fans, been able to say we had a Wildcat player at Clemson in a decade. So you could use him in that sort of way. Get him on the field. Get him touches. I know that we say, well, we don't know about quarterback. Well, Tyson Demicharm looked pretty good in limited action against SC State. I feel more and more confident about him as the season rolls on. So if something did happen to DJ, God forbid, I feel confident rolling dice with Tyson and letting Will Taylor get out there and run a little bit of slot wide receiver.
Greg on YouTube gets in and says Clemson wins 35-13. Offensive line will break out and be much better. DJ throws for over 300 yards, at least 250, and 3 touchdown passes. Shipley runs for over 100. Somebody already got in chat and moved it up. Okay, 2 touchdowns, but the defense will give up. its first touchdown. So all that will happen. Would you trade? Okay, would you rather continue to win really close nail-biting games with your offense struggling to get one touchdown, but your defense never giving up a touchdown? Or would you rather offense go crazy, but your defense start giving up touchdowns as well?
Latter. I'm going to take the latter on that one.
Every single time.
Yeah.
You got to go with the offense here because the only thing we're worried about right now is the offense. We understand the defense is going to give up a touchdown, and that's okay. But if your offense doesn't get going and show signs of life that we hope they can, then it's not going to matter in the end anyways.
Yeah, I think it's a great conversation. I just look forward to the next game. I think, again, it goes back to what you have to know what these players are thinking. They just need to get out one more time. And Bockhorst is getting mad. You listen to his post-practice interviews, man. He is not happy. He wants to win. And that's the kind of leadership you need. They just got to put it all together. It's difficult, though. Dabo talks about not worrying about the external factors. You can only control the controllables, right? You can only control what you can control. You can't worry about the external factors. If you worry about what NC State's going to be like, how the atmosphere is going to be, then those are going to control, and then you can never be a great player or a great team if you don't do that. I'm going to say on the player's side of things, you can never be a great player if you're worried about all those external factors. Now think about it this way. What if you're worried about those internal factors? What if you're like, man, you know what? I do have a cannon arm, but I'm not really that accurate. Self-assessment here. I'm not talking about myself because I don't have a cannon arm, and I am also not accurate. So I can't say anything on my own. But what I will say is, what if you're that player who says, you know what? I know I'm elite. Everybody tells me I'm elite, but I got a flaw here and there. I got things I need to work on. My footwork's not the best. My accuracy's not the best right now, but I know I got great coaches that can help me fix it. I want it to click, right? Well, then that's the internal. Then the external start creeping in. Well, Ross didn't run the right route. Well, Ladson didn't run the right route. Well, we called the wrong play altogether. Or, hey, how about this? The defense drops 8, and we never practiced that all week, which is, from what I hear, happened. So now, and then you add in, maybe he has 2 seconds to throw the ball. Some plays. Now, some plays he does have 3 seconds or more. But you add in all these external factors. I'm talking just within the team. And it starts to compound, and it goes right back to you can't build on that. But what I will say is, if you get in that situation again, and I think Houston mentioned this earlier on in the week, that's where I feel like it's time for the Maurice Cardet. It's time for number 1.
Yeah, Will Shipley. I'd like to say this to anyone who's frustrated about the offense and assumes that the offense is just going to stay this way forever. And look, hey, there's always a chance that it might. I don't think it's likely, but I want to point this to, if you're a similar fan of Clemson, a different sport, but something I want to point out, how many of us Braves fans 3 months ago looked at their team and said they are trash? They're garbage. Everyone in here can raise their hands, and now
you lost your best player.
You lost your best player, and everybody was like, "Man, why do we even have Austin Riley? Why is Austin Riley on the field? And what has he done? We got Adam Duvall. People were like, "Why do we get Adam Duvall? Look at what he's done." So just to assume that everything's going to stay the same. Look, I'm not going to say that Clemson's offense is perfect, and heck, Clemson can. They're never perfect.
Even when they won the national championship.
Even when they won the national championship. And I'm not saying Clemson's going to win. Like, it's going to be a tight game regardless. And if Clemson does come out and throw the ball and look great, awesome. Clicked. That's what you want. But know that this team is going to get better, and it's going to look different than what anybody expected this year. And I'll hammer it again one more time before we finish. 24 to 30 points is what they should be aiming for, and you'll be just fine for the remainder of the regular season.
All right, so let's transition real quick because it's towards the end of the show. We got about 3 minutes to go. Workhorse of the week. By the way, Mr. Houston Burnett finished with Bijan Robinson, 127 yards. Now, if you're not familiar with our game, we basically are – this is an internal game, but you're basically doing how many yards can you accumulate throughout the season. You can't use the same player twice back-to-back, but you can use them twice, but you just can't use them in order, right? So, or back-to-back. I guess I said that right the first time. Don't try to break me. I'm talking to myself. But Allen, second place, Tank Bigsby, 102. And then I was third place, Brees Hall, 100 yards. So, Houston, Allen, myself, I will go ahead and pick my first one. I'm going to go with one I wanted to pick last week, Mr. Kenneth Walker III. He had 172 yards against Miami. He's only 86 yards away from beating his 2020 record. So I'm going with Mr. Kenneth Walker.
I'm going to take a flyer this week. I'm going to talk about Noah Kane, a guy who I think is a really good running back. He's not had a very good year so far. However, he's played 2 elite defenses in Auburn and Penn State, so I'll give him that. But even against Ball State, I mean, he's averaging I think 67 games, something like that. He's not been good, but I'm going to go with Noah Kane. They're playing Villanova this week. I think he breaks it out, has a couple long runs, and gets me on the leaderboard.
You know, it's funny you said Noah Kane. I had him in mind at the last minute. Literally while I was looking at my phone, I was like, I'm going to change it up. Give me Tyler Goodson from Iowa this week. They're playing Colorado State. That team is trash. And he's going to run on. He's going to be out by the first half, but I think he could run for 200 yards in one half on that team. They're so bad.
That's what you really got. I like this game because you really got to think, okay, I know they're a good running back, but who are they playing?
Right.
I think it's really great that we all finished with 3. We picked 3 guys that were be over 100. So that's, to me, a success in itself. Now, Houston is already up 27 yards on me. And again, we are going to continue to build on this as we keep going and just see how it goes. We're going to workhorse of the week. So we have those 3 players out there. Let us know what you think over on Facebook or YouTube. And if you aren't aware, we're not only on 105.5 or 97.5. We're also on Facebook at The Morgan Thomas Show. And we're on YouTube as well at The Morgan Thomas Show. And I tweet a little bit here and there at The Morgan T Show because you can't have that on the username. And also, Houston. Alan doesn't like Twitter, so he's not on Twitter. But Houston.
At Radio Guy Houston.
At Radio Guy Houston on Twitter as well. Well, friends, we hope you have a good rest of your night. Don't forget to follow us again on Facebook and YouTube. And thank you to Ramona for producing our show. For that, this is the end of the week, and we appreciate it for us. But it's bedtime. We'll see you later. I didn't get in my closing.
Bedtime. We'll see at the top of the hill. Bedtime.
I mean, how do you forget the signature?
And I'm reading.
If you're tuning in,
I knew I wasn't
on
fast enough.
Facebook or YouTube,
I knew I missed it. Missed it by a few seconds. Okay, she's
Oh, yeah.
fix it back and wipe it down. Got it.
Fix it back and wipe it down. I got you. Do I need to wipe down the headset too? Or just
I would just be the extra safe with it. Man, Ramona's killing me over here with the heat.
I know. Smoking me out.
Thank you again, Ramona.
Thank you so much, Ramona.
Yeah. I started, we sat down and I started talking that first run through.
Mm-hmm.
My head is hot. I'm like, oh, wait a minute, the air's not on. Now it's on, thankfully. Whew. That's happened to me a couple times at home.
So wipe this down. I don't know if I'm supposed to, but what else?
Ramona, you want me to just shut down the computer or the computer? Do you want me to shut it down? Yeah, you want me to shut down the computer or close this stuff? Okay.
He's actually in several this week because he went to Penn State, and all he's saying throughout the week, I think James Franklin is brainwashing because anything he